5.
Alrighty, so that we get going. Good evening. My name's Tom Mariome. I'm chairman of the Public Works Committee. We're meeting this evening on Tuesday, January 2nd, in the first floor conference room at City Hall at 6 p.m. With that, we'll go around and introduce ourselves.
I'm Scott Kell, Alderman.
Paul Shabilsky, City Clerk.
Joe Eggstead, City Engineer.
Joe Terry, Director of Public Works.
Steve Gold, Alderman.
Greg Brower, Superintendent, Wisconsin Rapids Public Schools.
Ed Allison, Buildings Grounds Director, Safety Director, Rapids Schools.
Thank you. That will go to item number 1. Let's review the DPW report.
So, being that this is the January report, my report includes highlights of activities from 2017, and as such, if you're okay with that, I'd like to go through the whole report this evening.
Okay.
At the airport, we had between 500 and 600 large transient aircraft serviced during the Gulf season, and those are attributed to Sand Valley. We're lucky to see 5 or 6, much less 500 to 600. So this is a tremendous amount of activity. There was a purchase of a fuel truck, and that was crucial to providing service to those aircraft. Other ground support equipment included lavatory service cart, de-icer, tow bars and heads, and the tug refurbishment. Fuel sales were approximately 300% of 2016 annual fuel sales. The sale of 100 low lead, I think, was actually slightly down. The entire increase in fuel sales was due to increased jet traffic. Taxiway B West was constructed. The east end is to be completed in 2018 as part of one of the larger capital improvement projects out at the airport. The airport administrator hosted 6 airport tours for various groups, including ODC, church, and schools. Other public events at the airport included 2 fly-ins and a wedding. And the height limitation zoning tree project is nearly complete, with final completion expected in February of 2018. For our buildings and grounds this year, some of our highlights is that our zoo master plan is underway, and some zoo upgrades are completed, including some fencing and the fountain and waterfall restoration. We've completed some bathroom upgrades at Lions Park. Holiday decorations have been updated, and many have been relocated to enhance the downtown during the holiday season. New open shelter paving at Robinson Park improves the accommodations and the safety at the park. A sprinkling system renovation at Witter Field improves field maintenance and demonstrates the city's dedication to partnering in the success of the Rafters baseball program. New picnic tables and lighting and electrical upgrades occurred at Robinson Park. We had table installation at Legion Park thanks to generous donors, and there's some more locations in that park for those that wish to donate towards the facilities. We've got dog waste station installations at various park locations. Our ash tree removals and replants along the expressway with the emerald ash borer issue was successful this year. The city's first splash pad was designed, built, started up, and operated this year. And our aquatic center design work, public awareness, fundraising, and Witterfield master planning has resulted in plans for what will be a spectacular facility for the city and the entire region to enjoy once built. In the engineering department, I would say the most notable accomplishment is the First Street North project. Due to its complexity, geographic location, and design, construction, and timeline. The project included some very unique features of design and construction complexities. For design, there's a very short design timeline for a project of this nature. Required coordination with the Village of Buren. And as you know, coordination with some very involved neighborhood residents. Potential groundwater and bedrock concerns were challenging to design. Environmental conditions adjacent to the Wisconsin River and Quinnell's Creek led to complexities in the design. There's a hazardous spill site adjacent to the project that had to be worked with. There's limited vehicle access and a narrow corridor. Some unique features of that project were the wastewater lift station, the 8-foot wide recreational trail, irrigation conduits for private residential use that permits were granted and conduit run through the right-of-way. This project has no mainline storm sewer. It was designed to drain the road and to do it without any pipe put in the ground. The beam guard, the retaining wall, there was horizontal directional drilling required to get underneath Quinnell Creek. We had a narrow roadway cross-section and intergovernmental agreements for the trail connection. So it's an extremely challenging project to do this year. Our reconstruction project statistics, we did 0.82 miles of sanitary sewer pipe, 0.19 miles of storm sewer, 29 catch basins, and 0.84 miles of water main. Some survey statistics with our engineering technicians. We did use some new GPS survey equipment this year, which improved both the speed and the accuracy of our survey work. Rented some equipment to establish some city benchmarks in accordance with DOT datums. 207 benchmarks were set, 10.2 miles of bench loops were ran with an average closure of 5/32 of an inch. The accuracy is absolutely amazing. That team also worked on preliminary surveys, and in doing so, obtained 14,778 data points to be used in our planning work. They also surveyed parts of the flow line of the Wisconsin River, taking 2,852 data points using echo sounder for the proposed force main and recreational trail projects along the Wisconsin River. In the engineering department, there were 10 DNR permits for city project, Chapter 30, dewatering, NOI, sewer extension, water extensions. That's significant for a city this size and certainly a department our size. We had 2 Army Corps permits for city projects. There were 131 excavating permits that were reviewed by the department, 80 concrete permits, which included 54 right-of-way concrete permits and 26 private. There were 24 asphalt permits, 7 right-of-way occupancy permits, 3 well testing permits, 6 stormwater permits, 2 stormwater connection permits, and 43 property searches. There were 2,040 digger hotline tickets that employees had to do locates on. There were 9,830 linear feet of curb and gutter replaced, 980 feet of joints. This was a new project this year for our sidewalk safety work. Instead of replacing all the sidewalk, we're grinding joints. We had 980 linear feet of that. 6,700 linear feet of sidewalk replaced. And the staff administered aggregate crushing contracts for 30,000 tons of road base, which cost effectively recycles concrete and pavement into road base for our infrastructure projects. In the street department, we had 142,000 square yards of chip seal maintenance performed. And this extends the life of our streets from a design life of 20 years to sometimes up to 60 plus years. The process of seal coating required the use of 1,600 tons of stone and 60,000 gallons of oil. We completed about 123 hot mix patches and paver patches and used 750 tons of asphalt to do it. For the first time in the city's history, we used GIS to help manage our maintenance work and assist staff and department heads with the work. The way we're using GIS will continue to evolve within the department. We had over 25 full-depth concrete slabs completed. About 55 catch basins were repaired in various states of needing repair. The excess fill from the infrastructure on our First Street project was utilized to make a exciting sledding hill at the Poplar Springs Park. We implemented 2 of our new dump trucks to use salt brine for treating the roads in the wintertime. The use of that material allows us to use much less salt and treat the roads at a cooler temperature. We had 1,100 tons of recyclables collected using our new automated recycling collection process this year, and that's up from an average of 840 tons per year collected previously. Outside the department, but with help with our department, there are consistent Dedicated enforcement of recycling rules has greatly enhanced the cleanliness and aesthetic appeal of the city. We had 5,600 tons of garbage collected, 1,400 tons of street sweepings collected, 8,000 tons of yard waste have been collected and processed, and the city crew also assisted in working and opening the city's first splash pad. In the wastewater department, we treated 1.2 billion gallons of wastewater. We treated 3.9 million pounds of BOD, 1.4 million pounds of total suspended solids, and 27,700 pounds of phosphorus. Through the procurement of a new high-strength digester feedstock, the wastewater department generated record highs for cubic feet of biogas burned. We produced 42,250,000 cubic feet of biogas, which was used entirely by the heat power generator at the plant. That generated 6.4 million kilowatt hours and saved the utility over 75% on energy bills. The newly procured high-strength waste also helped improve the plant performance in nutrient balancing. Tipping fees from the high-strength waste also brought in over $72,000 in additional income in the form of fees to help pay for costs to treat the waste. The collection system is also a major component of the wastewater utility. The staff cleaned over 997 storm sewer catch basins and maintained optimal performance of that system. Televised over 8 miles of sanitary and storm sewer mains to gain information and plan maintenance, and flushed over 500 dead-end sanitary sewers to keep the sanitary sewers clean and flowing. A project that's been going on for years. For the first time, wastewater staff hauled biosolids in-house to local farm fields, saving the utility over $15,000 on costly contract hauling operations, and staff hauled over 160 tons of biosolids. The utility was granted a conditional Class A exceptional quality permit for that sludge, and it's a process that's been in the making for over 6 years. A record amount of high-strength waste and septic holding waste was taken in, generating over $10,000 per month on average for the utility. The primary Clarifier rehabilitation was completed. That extends the life of that equipment for over 30 years. 5 lift station upgrades were upgraded with radio telemetry. That improves the data collection and control of those lift stations. Our new lift station was installed on First Street North, which will efficiently and effectively serve those sewer customers, and it has additional capacity in the event of outages to serve that neighborhood. And through staff optimization efforts, process adjustments were made at the plant and their operations to save 14% on polymer costs for sludge processing. That's over $17,000 in savings in chemical bills. At the Wisconsin Rapids Treatment Plant, we take something no one wants anymore and effectively produce clean water, power, and fertilizer. And last but not least, I have an odd statistic for you. We had one resident that's contacted the city engineering department 154 times during the 2017 calendar year. And given that there are 250 working days in a year, this particular resident calls once every 1.7 days. So there's lots of interesting things going on. I'm incredibly proud of staff, and I thank you for allowing me to review that report in its entirety.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or anything by anybody?
You should be proud. There's a lot of savings too.
It is. It is.
City.
Good, hard-working group.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, let's see, item number 2, review and consider approval of the relocation order and right-of-way plat for the Wisconsin DOT project 69990719 East Grand Avenue from 3rd Street South to 8th Street South, and that's attachment PW-2.
So both the plat and the relocation order are included in the packet. There are 33 properties that are included in the plat that have some sort of interest required, either temporary limited easements or fee purchase for right-of-way. There's only 4 properties that have fee purchase for additional right-of-way. At this point in the project schedule, the design of the project's past 60% complete, and it's nearing approval of the design study report. That hasn't occurred yet that I've heard of, but the approval of the plat and the relocation order need to be contingent upon that approval from the city's standpoint. But following potential approval of the plat and relocation order, those will be filed at the Register of Deeds, and then the real estate process, real estate acquisition can commence after that point. So with that, staff would recommend approving both the plat and relocation order contingent upon the Wisconsin DOT's approval of the design study report.
I would so move.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions, committee? Hearing none, committee will vote. All in favor respond by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. Item number 3, review request by the Wisconsin Rapids School District to make safety and traffic improvements on 16th Street South adjacent to Lincoln High School as follows. A, to modify the lane markings and signage on 16th Street adjacent to Lincoln High School. And B, to remove parking along the east side of 16th Street from East Riverview Expressway to 120 feet south of Pepper Avenue. You guys want to move up to the table? You can. You're welcome to if you want to, or whichever. Okay. One at a time here.
Sure, so I'll start off. After discussing concerns with the school administration, police department, and engineering staff, we performed several days of on-site observations and evaluated the conditions. District staff met with police and engineering staff to discuss observations and develop recommendations to improve the conditions. Staff recommends implementing these conditions in the spring of 2018 prior to the closing of East Junior High, which will ultimately add more traffic to 16th Street South. Joe, do you want to go through the items here?
Sure. Yeah, so there are a couple things that are proposed. Would be the modify the pavement markings and signage along 16th Street adjacent to Lincoln High School, and then in addition removing parking along the east side. Basically, the removal of the parking would allow for the pavement markings to shift over. 16th Street is part of the city's bike network, and so it would removal of the parking would facilitate that as well, but it would also provide left turn lanes at the entrance, the main entrance to the school, which would help to segregate traffic so that people can continue moving southbound along 16th Street towards Pepper Avenue without backing up at that location. The school district has some additional work that they may do with widening the driveway at the south entrance to the student parking lot to allow incoming traffic, whereas today it currently doesn't allow that. It's a summary of the improvements, I guess in a nutshell.
Any comments by the school?
The parking on the east side especially, by the time people get out to see if the traffic is cleared, you know, they're a half a car length out into the road, and it just slows the whole process up. So it's just a really dangerous situation right now. We had school staff out there in the middle of traffic, stopping traffic, which, you know, really they're not supposed to do, because everything's backing up all the way back to the expressway. And same thing, we switched the entrance and exit around, it was about 3 years ago, hoping that would help alleviate the traffic a little bit, and it helps some, but it's still pretty dangerous. And the thing is with ninth grade moving up there, you know, our schools weren't built to have 3/4 of the kids getting rides to and from school. You know, our parking lot is big enough, our drop-off areas at each one of our schools are really small, you know, now for the amount of cars that are coming. I think this will help. I mean, this will be a step in the right direction, definitely. Just getting the parking off the east side of 16th is gonna help a lot. And it kinda kills two birds with one stone too. A lot of kids park out there, because they have to buy parking permits, obviously, and they're not subject to surge out there and things like that, so it'll help in that respect too.
In the morning, the problem is predominantly southbound traffic that's trying to turn either into the student parking lot or into the bus and drop zone parking. And the issue is the main entrance driveway shown in the middle of the screen here. There's quite a bit of northbound traffic that wants to make that right turn. And while that traffic's making the right turn, the southbound traffic can't make the turn. And so it backs up all the way to the intersection. Right now, school crossing guards will come out, staff will come out and stop some of that northbound right turn movement to keep that left turn clear. And so by adding this, you know, just shifting the center line and essentially adding an exclusive left turn lane, we're providing an area for those cars to queue up. With the recommendation also that there's, you know, no traffic that enters this intersection on the south end of the parking lot because it's currently an exit only. If some of that northbound traffic would
Enter there.
make the choice to go into the parking lot, if that's an option for them, it also helps alleviate some of that morning left turn back up. In the afternoon, it's a little bit of the opposite. You've got all the students leaving out the south entrance, and it ends up being a through and right movement and a left movement. Right now, there's two exit lanes, and with the buses and the parents. Coming and going, these exclusive left turn bays would really help facilitate those movements and keep the through traffic as they're leaving and heading south a little bit further away. Things are, you know, acting a bit wider, and without the parking there'd be enhanced visibility. So we really saw no disadvantages of this solution, and for the city it's relatively inexpensive. There's some line work that needs to be done, and you know, and some ordinance work to change the parking, some signs that need to be adjusted. You know, we think that it's a fairly low cost option that could yield good results.
And you have sufficient space for bicycle path, right? I'm thinking 8th graders, 9th graders taking a bike rather than,
Yep.
you know, can't drive per se, but.
I really appreciate you guys taking a look at this. I mean, we've been looking at it for 5-6 years, probably well beyond that even. This seems like it's gonna help a lot.
So
It's an issue without question. Being new to the community, stopping over there afternoons and before well, you know, if you live here, it's a nightmare.
You avoid that area at all costs.
And I think part of the issue is, which is also remedied by this, is that when we do have to stop traffic to get buses out and continue that flow, and I should also mention, so the committee knows that the district's well aware of our involvement in this process, and we're gonna try to do things that further mitigate future problems, but one of the confounding factors is the tight bus schedule that we have and the fact that we're running 2 routes. Secondary route, middle school, junior high and high school kids leave earlier. Those buses drop kids off, then come back for their elementary routes. If we're tying buses up even 2, 3, 5 minutes at the high school, then that has ripple effects, right, for elementary kids that are waiting to get on the bus. And I know, you know, it's not perfect. In an ideal world, we would be able to run separate routes, but that's just the infrastructure's not there, the budget's not there. The odds of that happening are so far gone that really working on Unfortunately, I say that because I don't think we have a lot of options, is just making attempts at modifying that traffic flow and some other modifications. We also talked with the police department to assist us in, shall we say, retraining behaviors for the first couple of weeks, beginning of the school year, again in the mid, and then at the end, until people become more accustomed to what our protocols are. And then the idea too, I think, which is huge from my own perspective, the times that I've been there, part of the problems is that it's conceived by some folks as a 4-lane road, or at least 2 on one side and maybe not. And I know that it's pictured as such, but if it's very clearly marked that that's a left turn only lane, and that's enforced, I think, in a minimal sense, I think that's gonna be huge, because when we do stop traffic, part of the problem is that people go around in the right-hand side, whatever lane they're going, and think, oh, traffic stopped to make a left turn, so I'll just come in the right. Well, traffic stopped so we can get our buses out. And that's what creates some more, the stop of the traffic is not good, granted, but that creates more of a hazardous circumstance for our folks that are standing there and for cars that are parked there trying to pull out. So we too feel, like Ed said, that this will be a step in the right direction, in addition to some other things that we're gonna do on our own property to help with that process too. So.
Questions, anybody?
I think it's even more critical if there's a apartment complex that may go up in that area. It's just more traffic,
Yep.
so
It's the other piece we discussed.
it's long overdue,
And when our sophomores start driving, about this time of year, and they're extra cautious,
Yeah.
it even slows the
Traffic.
up a little more, which is good, but it actually gets worse from like this time of year to the end of the year. You have more kids driving, and it's just even more congested.
I suppose since they changed the state law, you can't have kids carpool anymore, because they're limited to like one passenger.
Yep.
You can't.
And they're under GL.
So you
Depending on
can't-
their license. And the other issue too, because we discussed that, is that there's no arguing, there's far more kids that drive now than ever. I mean, now more than ever, over the last, 10, 15 years. It's just been a steady increase. Most kids, if they have the means, want to take a car to school and not ride a bus. And like Ed said, they're not really, we have plenty of student parking, thankfully, but it's not meant, the flow of the school is not set up to accommodate all kinds of traffic flow. It's meant to pick up, buses, pick up and drop off in buses, which, and then too, it's busier because of the dynamic of the city and where the action is and where it isn't and that kind of thing. And so, I don't think anybody thinks it's a Pandora's box or the silver bullet, so to speak. We just think it's a step in the right direction. We'll probably have to be continually evaluating. And with the change of the freshmen moving to Lincoln High School, presumably those kids are either gonna ride with somebody or take a bus because they're 9th graders. Or parents are gonna come and drop them off. And so there's gonna be more business around there next year, whether there's new apartments or anything else. So it's a good time to give it a shot and be a little bit reflective on how well it works, and maybe make some changes, again, still, depending upon circumstance. But, yep.
I appreciate you taking a look at it and that, and it looks like it's gonna be a big improvement, that's for sure.
We thank you for entertaining the conversation, because like you said, we think it's gonna help.
I'll make a motion to approve the Wisconsin Rapids School Districts to make safety and traffic improvements on 16th Street adjacent to Lincoln High School as stated.
Second.
Motion is second, approve, all in favor, respond by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
So the parking, is the motion to
Well, to
approve both items?
Yeah, right.
So
that's
we'll
right.
bring the parking language, we'll prepare that and then bring that directly to council since the committee's approved the
Okay.
concept. Okay.
Alrighty,
Thank you.
thank you. Appreciate
Thanks
it.
a lot.
Yep.
Parking was needed, that's gonna be an ordinance.
Right. Okay.
All right, let's see, item number 4. Review and consider approval of preliminary resolution for municipal improvements, including concrete sidewalk, concrete driveway approach, and curb and gutter on 10th Street South, between Grove Avenue to 360 feet north of Wood Avenue, the east side. Wood Avenue between 10th Street South and 12th Street South, the north side. 12th Street South between Wood Avenue and River Run Drive, west side, and River Run Drive between 12th Street South and 230 feet east of 12th Street South, south side.
So this resolution, a preliminary resolution for a project, this project but slightly a different scope was approved last summer. Because of budget constraints and even though the project is funded predominantly from assessments, because of our state shared revenue, or our levy cap and expenditure restraint caps, this project was reduced in scope in the 2018 budget. So this preliminary resolution modifies the previous one, reduces the scope slightly, but still makes the effort to try to accommodate those pedestrians in those neighborhoods and give them somewhere to walk other than out in the street.
Would you ever envision to come back in the future to do what we, I guess, dropped off from the last, what the last one was?
Yeah, my recommendation remains as it was, that 12th Street should also have sidewalk. It certainly has the appropriate cross-section that it should, handles enough traffic, vehicular traffic, that pedestrian facilities really are needed there, I believe. And having them there would be consistent also with our ordinances. So I don't think this would be the end of this project.
Well, as is, I'd entertain a motion to approve the preliminary resolution. Yes.
Make a
For this.
motion to approve the preliminary resolution.
I'll second it.
Motion is second to approve a preliminary resolution for all of these without repeating it all. All those in favor respond by aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, ayes have it. Thank you. Item number 5, review and consider approval of preliminary resolutions for municipal street improvements, including sanitary and water leads, curb and gutter, sidewalk, permanent street surfacing, and concrete driveway approaches on A. I'm gonna do these one at a time, or I suppose, or?
So I think we can.
Before I read them.
I think we could do them all
Altogether?
together. They are separate resolutions. They're all for projects that are either budgeted for 2018 or are in our capital plan for 2019. So I think you could do them all as one motion. If you wanted to call them out separately, if you felt that there was any concern with doing them all as one, you certainly could do that as well. But
I'll read them, I'll read them all together, I guess. If there's concern with one or something, we can pull it out that way, I guess, okay. All right, A, High Street between 7th Avenue North and 10th Avenue North. B, High Street between 12th Avenue North and 17th Avenue North. C, East Grand Avenue between 3rd Street South and 8th Street South. D, East Grand Avenue between East Grand Avenue Bridge and 3rd Street South. E, 7th Street South between East Grand Avenue and Oak Street. F, Van Buren Street between 8th Avenue North and 10th Avenue North. These resolution projects, there's 2018 and 2019, some of them. Is that still correct?
Yep, 3 of them are, so both High Street and Van Buren projects are in 2018. And then East Grand and 7th Street, so those 3 projects are in 2019.
Okay. Yep.
make a motion to approve the preliminary resolution for municipal improvements, including sanitary and water leads, curb and gutter, sidewalks, and permanent street surfacing and concrete driveway approaches on roads stated.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve preliminary resolution for these 6 locations. If there's no further discussion or questions, committee will vote. All those in favor respond by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, ayes have it. Item number 6, review correction of the ordinance needed to place a taxi stand along the north side of West Grand Avenue immediately west of First Avenue South.
So you'll remember this item from last month. I inadvertently missed the language issue here. The map that's shown on the screen is the same map that we reviewed last month and approved. However, on the language itself, forgot to change west of 2nd Avenue to west of 1st Avenue South. So this is really just
It's just coming back for a cleanup.
a cleanup that was oversight in the language itself.
Make a motion to approve taxi stand with the corrected language for First Avenue South in lieu of 2nd Avenue.
Second. Motion and second to approve the changed cleanup language for the taxi stand. Committee, all those in favor respond by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, aye. Ayes have it. 7, review the referral list.
Given this is a new year, I did want to spend a little time, go through all these outstanding referrals. I think there are a few of them that we can cross off. Some that have been on here for a while, I think we want to keep on. Request from Alderperson Tom Riom to discuss the future of 8th Street South. Those discussions continue. It needs to stay on the referral list. Request from Alderperson Riom to discuss permissive flashing yellow arrow left turn lights. That's something that we continue to research. I think we can leave that on the list. Alderperson Kellogg's referral to discuss a ward cleanup program. Where does that stand?
I don't know, I think it's in, I think Ward 1 did a phenomenal job, but there was a lot of issues related to it. In other words, some people might have brought tires in from outside of that ward and they had to pick them up, and it just is complicated. But I've heard from many people that they liked it and would like to see it happen in other wards, but it might be too complex. I think one thing that's interesting that you brought up on it about several months ago, where a lot of time, quite often, when people move from an apartment, they put out in front of their house almost their whole
Leave their
apartment, from sofas to couches to beds to, and how that's a cost for the city by bringing the trucks there, that maybe there's a cost for that, and to encourage the people to, or we talked about one time too, that we could have a something at the west side
Garage,
dump
sure,
or whatever,
sure.
east or west side, where they could take their sofa and dump it in themselves, rather than have the city come out with an extra crew and have to do that. So it's an idea that might be in lieu of this versus.
So here's my question. From both a staffing practice, so a few years ago, the city, through attrition, reduced the can collectors on the garbage trucks in anticipation of an automated garbage collection program. The city has started the automated recycling program, and the city's insurance company is very excited about that and has been anxious to push the city to do the same for its garbage collection program to reduce risk, and so there's a number of benefits in going in that direction. One of the things that'll be required to do that is discussion and updates of our garbage collection ordinance, because what we collect, how we collect it, will change dramatically. And, so items such as, large item pickups, those types of services will be something that we need to address with that. Would it be appropriate for me to change that referral item to discuss the refuse ordinance as it pertains to offering those services and getting ready for automated garbage collection?
I think it would, it's related. It's the idea that you don't accumulate in your backyard all these items. We want to clean up our neighborhoods, and something, an ordinance that would help promote that, I think would be advantageous. Rather than just the ward cleanup itself, because that would be quite complex. And
I think somehow even to encourage a citywide cleanup of some type.
Somehow.
Yeah, I don't know how really to go about it. Ward 1 that year they did it was, they did a great job, but they had, I forget how many people that took the bull by the horns.
Yeah, it's
But
a big
things were
undertaking.
brought in from the outside that shouldn't have been.
How you could prevent that. And I think there were the big items like a refrigerator or tires and stuff like that, so maybe if it was a ward cleanup, it would, anybody having tires or refrigerator or appliance would be charged, but other items that need to be thrown away, I'm thinking old ladders or what have you, would be fine, but.
Sure, we can, I'll make that adjustment and we'll get it on an upcoming agenda and start that discussion. Because it will be a complex issue.
Yeah.
Next item, request to evaluate traffic control warrants at intersections along 16th Street. That needs to happen yet. Referral to remove some parking restrictions in the west side downtown area. Do we still need to address that, or is that one?
I think that one's.
That one's
passed.
I think it is
taking
too.
care of itself.
We're gonna remove number 5.
Had to do with all those others, didn't it, Don?
Yeah.
That area?
And number 6, review the concept of painting yellow stripe around the roadway rather than painting the whole curb in the downtown area. That item also kind of goes away by itself because the manual on uniform traffic control identifies when and how you can do that. And so it's really not as much a policy type issue as it is a standardized
Guideline.
issue. So we can remove number 6 as well. Number 7, truck traffic in the neighborhood of 7th Avenue High in Harrison. If we've had any complaints on that, or?
There was, the only complaint was when it was originally referred to the committee, and it hasn't come up since that time, which has been over a year maybe.
I think about 2.
That could be.
What are your wishes with that? Remove it from
I
the
haven't
list?
heard it, I haven't heard anything myself.
I think part of the issues were trucks leaving Metcalf Lumber, and they would go up 7th Avenue to High Street, which is the shortest route. They're kind of pinned in on where they can go and where they can't go. But it is, 7th Avenue is one block of residential properties to get to High Street, so that might have been part of the concern.
I would say take it off.
I think we can take it off.
Can come back, I guess.
Yeah.
We've got a request to vacate part of Riverview Drive adjacent to 1911 First Street North for installation of a picket fence.
Vacations, not a fan.
No. I'm trying to remember when that, was that prior to the design of the First Street?
No, I think it came near the end of well, midsummer maybe.
Okay. We'll leave that on. Request to approve relocation order. Okay, so number 9, we can remove, we just addressed that. Number 10 is a request for stop sign in Rosewood Subdivision, Rosewood Avenue and 14th Place South and 15th Place South. That was a referral by Alderperson Dolan. This is an item that has been reviewed by the engineering department in the past, and I spent a little bit of time down there purposefully after a recent light snowfall, 24 hours after the snowfall, so I could see how many tire tracks are using that area. Because the warrants for a stop sign require several thousand vehicles a day, and instead of asking staff to spend time conducting intersection research, it's pretty evident just going down there and taking a drive through there. This is a residential subdivision. There isn't much traffic. There are no site issues. Essentially, the same recommendation that was made a couple of years ago would be the recommendation of the engineering department. If the committee is comfortable with me removing that from the referral list, I'll address a letter to the property owners with concerns.
Do they have a yield sign?
No.
I mean, in lieu of a stop sign, maybe a yield sign, just to acknowledge.
So the issue in that particular neighborhood is there is no through street.
Oh,
You know, there's
Okay.
very few homes. When you look at traffic,
they
it's,
should all know about it.
there's 5 or 10 vehicles a day going in any direction. You know, even to select a street, to call it a through street wouldn't, it would hinder as many people as it would benefit. So there's really no point in it at this time.
Yeah. I think take it off, notify, however, the person who put this in, I forget the name even, that was on that Terry had given us, notifying them of that, and I guess if they wanna further come
Sure.
back to us, they can.
Right. I will, I'll take care of that. I have that information in my office. Let's see, what's next? Speed limit signs in Rosewood Subdivision, that's the same item. It's a residential neighborhood. It's automatically 25, so there's no, certainly no warrants for any speed limit signs there. Payment for angle parking along 2nd Street South in the area of 521 2nd Street South. So this is a follow-up from the discussion that we had 2 months ago. Again, there's no precedent for, public financing of private parking.
Is that an apartment down there?
Yeah.
Yes. And
I still like to keep this on.
okay. The Lincoln High School modification, number 13, can be removed. We just discussed that this evening. Number 14, that's a long one. That's all these preliminary
Yeah.
resolutions. We can
Yeah.
take that off the list. And number 15 can stay on the list. That's consideration for a request, or consider request by property owners at 2621 Lincoln Street for a 38-foot driveway opening. So this list will be significantly shorter next month.
Well, I guess so.
5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14.
Correct.
Sure that's it? Seems like it was longer. We have more to take off yet, but.
He just read them fast.
Won't have anything to do.
Oh, there's lots to do.
Yeah, they'll come up with something. Okay, we're at item 8, and that's adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
We have a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion second to adjourn. All in favor, respond by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We're adjourned at, 6:59, I guess.
49.